It's 2025, and I would like to be here saying to you that I haven't purchased any books yet, but that would be a lie. So I'm just gonna say that it's 2025 and I am ahead of the book buying curve. Hi friends, welcome back to Shelby and the Book Club. I am Shelby Bonet, and in today's video we're going to talk about a few books that I acquired so far this year. I know what you're thinking, Shelby, already, and yes, already. I keep telling y'all that buying books and reading books are two separate hobbies, and I partake in the both of them. You will be proud to know that one of these books I actually found in my room, okay? And I feel like y'all gonna be proud because y'all keep saying, oh, you should shop your bookshelves and read what you have. So I shopped my bookshelf and I found something new. Who knows how long ago I bought it. But anyway, that's not the point. I did a thing. Now the rest of these books, the people just dropped them off at the house here. Okay, I don't want to hear nothing about it. If you have any questions about any of these books, they will all be linked down below in the underneath bar. It is called the underneath bar because it is underneath the video. You're getting it. I'm proud of you. You're getting it. You keep learning. I love that. Before we get into it for real, make sure you like, you comment, and you subscribe. We're always growing our family here. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's see these books now. First up on the list, we have Death of Innocence. This is by Mamie Till Mobley and Christopher Benson with a foreword by Reverend Jesse Jackson. This is about Emmett Till and it's by his mother. It's funny because I saw a Instagram post where someone was saying we should be talking about Mamie Till Mobley more. And then I was straightening up in my room and this fell off of a stack of books that's behind my television. Don't ask why it's books behind my TV. Okay, don't ask. Don't ask. So this says, in August 1955, a 14-year-old African-American, Emmett Till, was visiting family in Mississippi when he was kidnapped from his bed in the middle of the night by two white men and brutally murdered. His crime, allegedly whistling at a white woman in a convenience store. The killers were eventually acquitted. What followed altered the course of this country's history, and it was all set in motion by the outrage, sheer will, determination, and courage of the victim's mother, whose actions galvanized that it was fighting back. Did you see that? Galvanized the civil rights movement, leaving an indelible, we're gonna have to look that one up, mark on our racial consciousness. Death of Innocence is an essential document in the, well, I don't know that word neither, annals. I don't want to say that word is annals. I don't think that word is annals of American civil rights history, and a painful yet beautiful account of a mother's ability to transform tragedy into boundless courage and hope. I want to try to read this month when I'm recording this, because the book club pick for the month is The Trees by Percival Everett, which talks about, there's like an Emmett Till reference in that book. So I think this might be good to read in conjunction with, and it's not a long book. It's probably heavy, a little dense, and that's fine. I can deal with that. So yeah, I like to believe that books pop up to me personally, and maybe you also as well, when we need them the most. So there's that. Next, we have Troubled Waters. This is by Mary Anise Heglar. I've seen a lot of good things about this book. I've wanted to read it for a while. I finally got my hands on it. It says, the world is burning and Corinne will do anything to put out the flames. After her brother died aboard an oil boat in the Mississippi River in 2013, Corinne awakened to the realities of climate change and its perpetrators. Now, a year later, she finds herself trapped in a lonely cycle of mourning both her brother and the very planet she stands on. She's convinced that in order to save her future, she has to make sure that her brother's life meant something. But in the act, honoring her brother's spirit, she resurrects family ghosts she knows little about. Ghosts her grandmother Cora knows intimately. That sounds very interesting. I've heard very good things about this book. And I feel like it's gonna be one of those books that after I read it, I'm gonna be like, why weren't y'all talking about this more? Like, I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen enough people talking about it. Next, Topaz by Beverly Jenkins. This is actually a pick for my podcast, The League of Extraordinary Readers. You guys know that I have that podcast with one of my very best friends, Jess of Literature Noir Club, and she has never read anything by Beverly Jenkins. So Topaz is going to be her first Beverly Jenkins. And I realized I didn't have a hard copy of this. So it says, ambitious newspaper reporter Kate Love's determination to unmask a railroad stock swindler has led her to the brink of matrimony with the wealthiest, most eligible black man in the East, the very scoundrel she intends to expose. But at the last possible moment, a champion appears to whisk her away from the altar. Dick's wild horse, a black Seminole marshal from Oklahoma's Indian country. I'm excited to read this. I love Beverly Jenkins. You guys know that Indigo is one of my all-time favorite books. I'm so excited to go on this journey with Jess and to see where she lands on the spectrum of absolutely loving Beverly Jenkins. So I'm excited to read this with her. If you guys want to know what my thoughts are on this, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We are everywhere where you can listen to podcasts. Apple Music, Spotify, all of the places. Okay? Next, we have The Improvisors. This is by Nicole Glover. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I read both of Nicole Glover's other books, The Conductors and The Undertakers. And she does magical realism very, very well. This I've been excited about since I saw that it was coming out. I finally got my hands on it. It says, Velma Fry is a pilot, a former bootlegger, a well-seasoned traveler, a jazz pianist, a welder of celestial magic. Celestial magic is also mentioned in her other books. She's also a member of the mystery solving Rhodes family, as well as an investigator of arcane oddities for a magic rights organization dealing with both simple and complicated cases. And when a pocket watch instigates a magical brawl after one of her air shows, things become very complicated. First of all, look at this cover. Look at this cover. Isn't it beautiful? There's another book that I have wanted to read that is about a female pilot, and then I saw this and I was like, okay, obviously I need to be reading about Black female pilots. I'm super excited. I'm so excited to read that. Next, we have Slave Road. This is by John Edgar Wideman. This will be my first book by him. He is one of those authors that I had never heard of before. And talking to a friend of mine, she was just like, what do you mean you've never heard of him? What do you mean you've never read his work? I'm super excited to delve in. It says, in this groundbreaking work that unsettles the boundaries of memoir, history, and fiction, which is giving me vibes of biomythography, John Edgar Wideman maps the physical, social, emotional, and psychological terrains he calls the slave road. Wideman is reimagining not only the centuries-long traffic of millions of captive African bodies shipped from Africa across the Atlantic Ocean to endure enslavement in a so-called New World, but also a slave road that exists at the very moment and encompasses the journeys and experiences of us all. Slave Road documents intensely the insidious ways that slavery persists and continues to separate, wound, and destroy human beings. To chart this unforgettable journey through history and personal memory, Wideman converses with figures such as William Henry Shepherd, a man colored because his parents had been enslaved in Africa. Shepherd becomes a Presbyterian missionary at the end of the 19th century, and Wideman, along with Samuel Norval Lapsey, Shepherd's white Southern fellow missionary, accompany Shepherd on his voyage to convert Africans. Wideman drinks afternoon tea with Lucy Grant Shepherd, a captive on her own kind of slave route because she loves a husband who regularly commits adultery with the African women he claims he's dedicated to converting. As Wideman descends into the hostile underground cavern of New York City's Penn Station to find a brother who had just been released after being confined 44 years in prison, Wideman finds himself trapped, surrounded by mayhem and lost wandering souls. In despair, he asks himself, how will I distinguish my brother from the dead passengers on the slave road? Y'all know what I say about these little tiny books. They pack a punch. I'm excited about this one. Speaking of the podcast, Justin and I talked about this being something that we wanted to get at the end of the year. Next, The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. This was actually a gift from a very close friend of mine. Thank you, Bubs. I'm excited to read this. I'm actually going to read this very soon. I'm excited. An explosive award-winning novel in the Black literary tradition, The Spook Who Sat by the Door is both a satire of the civil rights problems in the United States in the late 60s and a serious attempt to focus on the issue of Black militancy. Dan Freeman, the spook who sat by the door, is enlisted in the CIA's elitist espionage program. Upon mastering agency tactics, however, he drops out to train young Chicago Blacks as freedom fighters. As a story of one Black man's reaction to ruling class hypocrisy, the book is autobiographical and personal. As a tale of man's reaction to oppression, it is universal. I think it's going to be good. I'm currently reading a book about civil rights. It's a fiction that came out this year. You should watch my vlogs, my weekly vlogs, if you want to see what I'm currently reading. And I think I'll read that once I finish that book because they'll go hand in hand. Next, you guys know that I love book subscriptions. I used to have a book of the month subscription, and then they started screaming and hollering in my inbox about resubscribing for $5 and you get this hat. Well, my box came because I gave them their old funky $5. Okay, and won't no hat in my box, and I'm upset. But I did get 2 books. First on this list is Isaac's Song by Daniel Black. You guys know that I am really a big fan of Daniel Black. He wrote Don't Cry for Me alongside Perfect Peace. He also wrote 2 books that I absolutely loved. Isaac's Song is a continuation or a response to Don't Cry for Me. So Don't Cry for Me is a story of a Black man. He's writing a letter to his son as he is dying, telling his son why he was the father that he was. It's moving. It is gut-wrenching to see a Black man be so vulnerable in certain ways and to talk about his trauma and to understand, albeit later in life, how those actions affected who his son became and the relationship that he has with his son. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So this is his son's reaction. I'm so excited to read this. It comes out officially January 14th. So by the time you see this, Isaac's Song will be available everywhere and not just on Book of the Month. And then something else that I got is Homeseeking. This is by Carissa Chen. This is a saga. So it says, Haywin is buying bananas at a 99 ranch market in Los Angeles when he looks up and sees Suchi. I don't know if it's sushi or Suchi. His Suchi for the first time in 60 years. To recently widowed Haywin, it feels like a second chance, but Suchi has only survived by refusing to look back. Suchi was 7 when she first met Haywin in their Shanghai neighborhood, drawn by the sound of his violin. Their childhood friendship blossomed into soul-deep love, but when Haywin secretly enlisted in the Nationalist Army in 1947 to save his brother from the draft, she was left with just his violin and a note, "Forgive me." Homeseeking follows the separated lovers through 6 decades of tumultuous Chinese history as war, famine, and opportunity take them separately to the song halls of Hong Kong, the military encampments of Taiwan, the bustling streets of New York and sunny California, telling Haywin's story from the present to the past, while tracing Suchi's from her childhood to the present, meeting the crucible of their lives. Throughout, Haywin holds his memories close, while Suchi forces herself to look forward, neither losing sight of the home they held in their hearts. I love a good saga. This actually sounds to me similar to The Stationery Shop, which was one of my favorite books. So I'm very excited to read this. And I also got this because Wale of the Hot Girl Book Club, I'll put it somewhere on the screen, she was reading this, and she and I have like similar reading tastes, so I was like, oh, if she's reading that, then maybe that might be something that I want to read. So I grabbed it. So that was that. And that concludes my very first book haul of 2025. Y'all know that there will be more. If you are interested in any of these books and you would like to support me, you can shop my Amazon storefront. All of the links are down below in the description box, aka the underneath bar. If not, get the books however it is you see fit, friend. I just want y'all to be reading, whether that's the library, whether it is from a local bookshop, however else you can get books. Okay, get them in whatever ways work for you. And let me know if you have read any of these or if you want to read any of these. And without further ado, if no one has told you today, you are kind, you are smart, you are important, if to no one else, to me. Bye, friends.